Who I just zoned out. Hey, it's Sue in the restricted section. Today I want to talk about the book Shrill, Notes from a Loud Woman by Lindy West. Lindy West is a writer and humorist. She currently writes for GQ and also The Guardian, among I think a couple of other places. And this book is a collection of her essays about being a outspoken and opinionated woman on the internet, and she also talks about being a plus-size woman, which is definitely something I can relate to, and what it's like, you know, again, sort of being a plus-size woman in general, and also being a plus-size woman on the internet, and growing up being plus-sized as well. And this book pretty much had me hooked in the first essay. It made me laugh out loud, and also rang very true to me. She was talking about how there are no good female plus-size role models for young girls, and she lists out some of the role models from, you know, Disney and other children's shows and movies that she had as a kid, and they include Lady Cluck, Baloo dressed as a sexy fortune teller, the Queen of Hearts, who's a psychopath, that sexual tree from The Last Unicorn, Miss Piggy, Marla Hooch, the neighbor with the arm flab from The Adventures of Pete and Pete, Ursula the Sea Witch, Morla the Aged One from The Neverending Story, Auntie Shrew, Mrs. Potts, and the Trunchbull from Matilda. So plus-size women are generally depicted as either like evil or disgusting, or just like the sweet little old lady who helps the thin pretty woman get what she wants, like in Cinderella with the fairy godmother. And that essay immediately was like, you know, I definitely related to that because it's very true, and also it made me laugh a lot, which was great as well. Like, I was laughing out loud many times while I was reading this book. Yeah, and I even remember in my own experience, like, I've always been a large person. Like, not only was I chubby as a kid, but I also was a lot taller than all of the other kids, and I'm still tall. I've always been tall. I've been consistently tall my whole life. I didn't hit a growth spurt or anything. And I remember in 3rd grade we had this big Christmas play that the 3rd grade class does every year. And I was cast in the role of Grandma in my 3rd grade Christmas play. And I remember being kind of proud that I had gotten a part, because, you know, most of the kids didn't have speaking parts. Most were just in the ensemble. So I was like kind of proud that I got a part, because we didn't have to audition for parts, I don't think. I doubt it anyway, because I probably never would have auditioned because I was extremely shy and quiet as a kid. Yeah, so I remember being proud that I got a part, but also feeling kind of embarrassed because I was playing Grandma. I was a 9-year-old kid playing a grandmother, and I was, just kind of, it was kind of embarrassing to me. And I know that I was probably cast because of the way I look, because like I said, I was a very shy and quiet child, and so I definitely wasn't given the part because of my talent or anything. And she also talks about how she was very shy and quiet as a kid, and she thought that was in part because of her size. And I'd never really thought about that for, you know, myself, because I was like painfully shy as a kid. Like there could probably sometimes be a whole day that I just wouldn't speak at school. I wouldn't be surprised, and it wouldn't really be on purpose. I just didn't talk to people and I didn't raise my hand in class or anything like that. So, you know, after reading this and also thinking back myself, I was like, maybe that was part of the reason I was so shy too, because I was never bullied as a kid, but I think I knew that I was an easy target because I was fat and because I was also kind of nerdy. Like, I was like in the gifted program and stuff like that, so, you know, that's never cool. Yeah, so I think that part of why I was so shy was because I was just trying to sort of disappear as much as possible so that I wouldn't get bullied, because I knew that it would be easy to bully me. Yeah, so the essays she wrote about being plus size were really relatable for me, and I think that they could be educational for someone who doesn't know what it's like to be plus sized, to read about that. I did see this was someone on Goodreads had commented that they didn't understand, because she has a whole essay about flying as a plus size person. And they said they didn't really understand that being an issue, because everyone gets anxiety when they fly. But for me, like, I've only flown I guess, you know, 4 times, because I flew to Orlando and back twice. And those were short flights. It's like 2 hours to fly to Orlando from where I am. But it was very anxiety inducing for me, not just because of, you know, the regular issues that I think everyone gets anxiety about, which would be, you know, going through security, flying through a metal tube in the sky, that kind of thing. But also, when you're plus size, you have to worry about, am I going to fit in the seat? Am I going to have to be humiliated and ask for a seatbelt extender? Is the person I'm sitting next to going to hate me and be an asshole to me because they have to sit next to the fat person? And those are the things that I worry about more so than the actual flying part. And she says in the book, she talks about her experiences flying. Obviously, she flies a lot. It's one of those things too where it's easy to say, you know, we'll just lose weight and then you won't have to worry about that. As someone who's, you know, been plus size my entire life, believe me, if it was that easy to just lose weight, I would have done it by now. So there's a lot more to it, I think. I think it's very much more psychological a lot of the time. And I mean, I know that people also have like medical conditions that can prevent them from losing weight and stuff like that. But for me and for other people who don't have those types of barriers, I think that you have to be like psychologically in the right place before you can do it. And so I think that's the biggest hurdle for people to lose weight. And it's something that isn't just going to happen overnight too. It's like, even if you do reach that point, you can't just be like, oh, I'll just lose 100 pounds by tomorrow. You know, it's still a long, slow process. So anyway, and then the other big thing she talks about in this book is the issue of rape jokes. Lindy West is not a stand-up comedian. She has done stand-up a little bit, I think, in the past, but she was really involved in the whole stand-up world. And stand-up comedy is definitely predominantly made up of men. There was an incident which I actually do remember this, but it was when Daniel Tosh made a rape joke at one of his stand-up shows, and a woman in the audience told him, "That's not funny." And his response was to say something along the lines of, wouldn't it be hilarious if she got raped right now? Like, if like 5 dudes just raped her right now, wouldn't that be so funny? And she, you know, immediately was horrified and left, which, understandable, in my opinion. Like, holy shit, that's a fucked up thing to say. And so Lindy West, a lot of male comedians were defending him and saying, you know, it was just a joke. If we can't joke about rape, then what can we joke about? We joke about rape because it's horrible, and that's, you know, why we joke about it. And Lindy West was one of the people who stood up and said, no, it's not funny. And she wrote a piece about it, and then she also went on some show and debated a different male comedian about whether rape jokes were okay or not. And as a result, of course, got tons of shitty hate comments saying, you should be raped. I hope someone rapes you. Or no one would want to rape her because she's fat and blah, blah, blah. So she talks a lot about that experience as well. And I'm someone who, I do have, a dark sense of humor, and I don't get offended easily. But I do agree with Lindy West on this point that, and she doesn't necessarily say that like all rape jokes are not okay, but she says that when you make fun of the victim instead of the rapist, then you're just perpetuating that rape culture and making people think that it's okay to laugh at a rape victim or to not believe them or to, make light of their situation in some way. And yeah, like I said, a lot of male comedians said, no, it's just a joke, blah, blah, blah. And I really think that, like, because I'm sure, most of the men who were sending her those messages saying, I hope you get raped, and most of those comedians who defended Daniel Tosh aren't rapists. Well, hopefully all of those comedians aren't rapists, but, there aren't rapists, and then they would never do that, probably. But I really think that it's just something that most men just don't really understand why women are so sensitive about it, because maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a man, I don't know how men think or feel, but it seems like, women, we have to sort of live with this fear in the back of our heads all the time, I think, and men don't. And so I don't think they understand whenever women say things like, joking about rape isn't funny. Even as a woman who's never been raped or sexually assaulted in any way, you still have that fear. Like, for instance, my boyfriend, the other day, he plays Pokemon Go, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning one night, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go walk up and down the street for a while and catch Pokemon. And I was like, all right. And then I made a comment of, well, I could never do that because I'm a woman. I wouldn't go walk out in the street by myself in the middle of the night. And he was like, well, this neighborhood's fine. It'd be fine. And I'm like, you're probably right. It probably would be fine, but I would never risk it because it could happen, like something could happen. And when I was in college, when I lived on campus, I worked off campus, and I would get home at like 11:30 at night, and the parking on campus was shitty, so I'd have to park in the parking garage and walk like a mile back to my dorm. And luckily nothing ever happened, but I did have a weird, creepy encounter one night with a man, and luckily a couple walked around the corner, and he sped off. He was on a bicycle. But I'm like, if they hadn't walked around the corner, I don't know what would have happened. There's also, smaller things, like when you're at a bar and a guy hits on you and you turn him down and then he gets like pissed off. Like, just things like that also just build up that little fear in you too. Because, if you tell a man, no, you can't buy me a drink, and he gets mad at you, then who knows if that could escalate further with you know what I'm trying to say. It's just little things like that make you feel like a lot of men, and again, I'm not saying all men, of course there are tons of nice guys out there who would never do this, but it just really makes you feel like a lot of men have this like feeling that they're entitled to women in some way. And it's scary. And yeah, so I just really think that most men, even, men who are nice guys, who would never do anything like that, really don't understand having that fear, that constant fear. And it's the reason that women don't go to the bathroom alone when they're at a bar, and the reason that women don't walk to their cars alone at night, because we never know what might happen, and that's very scary. And so for Daniel Tosh, someone who was in a position of authority, because he's, on the stage, everyone in this audience came there to see him because they look up to him and they like him. And he's telling them, hey, wouldn't it be really funny if you raped her? That's really fucked up and terrifying. Like, I would have been terrified if I was that girl. And so I don't blame her for leaving. And because, you know, of course, the men in the audience probably weren't going, no one was going to, like, get up right then and rape her in front of everybody. Like, that wasn't going to happen. But if she had stuck around for the whole show, like, who knows who might have, like, followed her home or something. Another thing that she talks about in this book are internet trolls, which, again, isn't something that I can really directly relate to. I've had, like, very minor encounters with trolls on the internet. It is something that I kind of fear because we have this YouTube channel now, and so we're putting ourselves out there, and, you know, BookTube is a pretty safe place, I think. I think even bigger booktubers, I don't think they get that much trolling on their videos. I don't know. And so I have been afraid that we'll get troll comments about whatever, but I specifically have a fear that someone will, you know, target my weight, because not only just am I plus size, but, you know, Megan is a thin person and I'm definitely not, so it's like you can definitely see, like, the contrast there too. So yeah, that's been a bit of a fear of mine. I mean, so far our experience on BookTube has been overwhelmingly positive, so hopefully it's not something that will happen, or if it does, I know that I should be able to just brush it off, but it's, you know, negative comments, I think, hit you much harder than any positive comment ever does, you know what I mean? Like, one negative comment, I've heard someone say that before, like, one negative comment is the same as getting 100 positive comments. But anyway, she talks about one specific really terrible trolling experience she had where someone pretended to be her dead father on the internet to troll her, and her father had just died maybe 8 months ago, I think she said, so it was a fresh wound there that they were stabbing a knife into pretty hard, and that's just like who would do that? It's terrible. But it was also a very unique situation because she ended up, I think, calling out this troll and writing a piece about it, I think. And that person actually ended up emailing her and apologizing and sort of, like, explaining what the deal was, whatever. And that was, like, unheard of for a troll to contact someone and apologize to them as well. But yeah, I think women are also very much more likely to receive hate on the internet as well. But overall, I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars because it just was really thought-provoking for me, and also for me personally, I did relate to a lot of the stuff she was talking about. But even if you're not a woman or you're not a plus-size woman, I think it would be a great book to read because it's always good to get another perspective on things and maybe understand a little better where other people are coming from. So yeah, I highly recommend this one. It was great. It was better. Like, I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did because I really didn't know much about Lindy West. In fact, I really didn't know anything about Lindy West. I think I had heard of her before because I do remember that trolling, someone pretending to be her dad. I remember reading about that on the internet. Yeah, I really enjoyed it and would recommend it. So, I hope I didn't, you know, invite the trolls here by talking about rape, but yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts below. I'd love to hear it. But that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And there'll be links below where you can find myself and Megan other places on the internet, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.